Alright guys, so this is another Patreon request, and this one comes from Jack Oliver. And this one is another request where he asked me how I would put a monster into the Monsterverse. Previously it was Ultraman, so this time around it's going to be Gamera. Which Gamera I was actually kind of hoping would get into the Monsterverse, but now that he's got his own reboot, yeah, I don't think that happened. Could it happen? Very slim chance. I don't think Katakawa would be... Actually, Katakawa did want to do a Godzilla vs. Gamera crossover, so maybe they might be open to it, despite the Netflix reboot. But I don't see it happen. I will give it a solid, if I'm being generous, 5% chance of still happening. 95% chance of no. But anyway, as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon. Other than that, let's get into it with this video. So, for this story, I mean, not story, but like how I would bring in Gamera into the universe. So how would I bring Gamera into the Monsterverse? So for starters, I definitely go with the Atlantis route. I would kind of do like a little bit of history with Hollow Earth, and also the age before recorded history, where in here I will take a lot of the Heisei Gamera, because that's the really good Gamera shit. And basically what I would do is have that Atlantis has been discovered. Atlantis has been found by Monarch, and they discover that they were one of the first major empires in the world. Like, they were the first major, like, superpower in before history. So, in the Age of the Titans, the Titans were basically also worshipped as gods and were coming out of Hollow Earth. However, there was one monster that, since Atlantis was so advanced, they created their own god, Gamera. And with Gamera, he basically protected them from the various monsters that came out of Hollow Earth. Like, Atlantis referred to it as the inner planet, or or hell in some cases. So they didn't like create him out of advanced science. Let me rephrase. They didn't create Gamera out of like advanced science. They basically did it through breeding. They did it through like like how you breed a dog, like how you make a breed of dog through breeding and pedigree and whatnot. So they did that for Gamera, where they took a species and kept breeding it until they got the result they wanted with the Titan, which was Gamera. And so Gamera was created through breeding and protected Atlantis from not only other Titans, but also enemies of Atlantis. He wasn't used to, like, go out and conquer the world. He was just used to fight, other like the Babylonians and other empires of the past, making Atlantis a superpower. That was until one day, when one Titan showed up. But before that, we'll get to, and you might figure out who that Titan is, shocker. But before that, one of the major threats that were threats to Atlantis was a race called the Viras. And the Viras were said to be they were also known as the Star Walkers. They're aliens. So when the Viras showed up, the Viras were the ones who attacked Atlantis, and the Viras unleashed their collective mindscape. Because here, how I would make Viras is that Viras is a collective mind creature. Like, he is a creature made of like thoughts and like a hive mind. So the Viras attacked and they went to war with Atlantis. Gamera did battle with the Viras and actually killed several of them. But unfortunately, Atlantis was lost, and Gamera went into a hibernation mode. He basically lost all of his power as he was dragged to the depths of the sea, but he did manage to drive the Viras off. However, there came a problem, because in doing so, in what happened with the during the war with the Viras, something followed them, and that something was Ghidorah. Ghidorah followed. Basically, explains how Ghidorah came to Earth the first time around, is that Ghidorah actually followed the Viras fleet, and when he arrived on Earth, and that's when he crossed paths with Godzilla. So Godzilla defeated Ghidorah, and from there the Viras were too they were basically wrecked because their hive mind creation, their monster Virus, their leader, was too wounded by Gamera's fight. So they had to fuck off. They had to leave because they were too damaged. Nor could they put up with the Titans. There was no way they could conquer the rest of the planet with these giant monsters. So we cut back to the present, and in the present time, Gamera has been discovered by Gamera would be discovered by Monarch and woken up. He would be woken up, and he's not in the best of moods. Now, which Gamera I would probably use? I would say definitely he would lean, like I said, more to the original Heisei era. That's how I think a lot of people prefer Gamera, is the Heisei era, where Gamera, again, he does have some breeding to him, and how I do the friend to all children is that Gamera, the princess of Atlantis, this little kid, would come when Gamera was forced to fight or was resting from injuries and whatnot. The princess of Atlantis would come and play with him. Would play with him and give him snacks to eat out of, and that would every time Gamera sees a kid in the new world, he's it triggers his memories, and it's oh, kids are nice. I like kids. They give me that. That's cute. That's how I would explain the friend to all children for this version of Gamera, is that he has just these fond memories of children playing with him, even though he was used as both a weapon and worshipped as a god by the Atlanteans. So Gamera would that's where the friend to all children is. There'd be something psychological where Gamera basically is he's basically hey, kids are nice. I like kids. It triggers those fond memories he has. Unfortunately, while Gamera breaks out of, when Gamera I would have that when Gamera shows up and wakes up again, that obviously brings up a problem because he's an alpha titan. He would be an alpha titan, and obviously that's not going to fly with. That would not fly with Godzilla. So it would be kind of Godzilla's original beef with Kong, where Kong was an alpha titan and could challenge Godzilla. This would be the same thing here, where Gamera is also considered an alpha, and he's also a threat to Godzilla's rule as the alpha titan. So I would definitely have Godzilla and Gamera fight, because you obviously have to do that. It's Gamera. Gamera would be there. But eventually I would have, at least for the first movie, Viras is the main villain. I don't think I would do Gauss, because we've had a lot of Gauss. Not to say Gauss is bad, he's one of my favorite kaiju. But Gauss, I would probably, it's time to use another, give some love to another Showa monster and give them the new love. So I would definitely go with Viras. That's why I'm going a lot with Viras. It's not a great movie, a lot of them aren't. Nearly all of the Showa era Gamera is not good. But Viras would make an interesting villain, because I would have that Viras came back and is kind of how I would do Viras now, in what's been going on with Viras in the present day, is that Viras has been basically installing alien, the Viras have been more or less infiltrating high levels of government and manipulating things, so they can do a second invasion, and the Viras can take over the planet and enslave make the humans into a workforce, take the resources, and make it part of their empire. That's how I would do it, is that, the Viras are here to enslave mankind and take over and, conquer everything in their path. And of course, this would be Gamera's whole thing is, but now they'd be oh shit, Gamera just woke up. I would even have the Viras have, it'd be kind of like a mixture of Secret Invasion with a monster movie, a little bit of Secret Invasion or Invasion of the Body Snatchers, kind of something along that regard, and have that they're oh shit, we gotta up, it's Gamera, we gotta up our timetable, guys. Gamera woke up. Gamera's a lot. The monster that defeated us the first time is awake, so now we got to go kick his ass. So that's how I'd play with it. That's how I'd like to really play with that angle of Gamera in the Monsterverse. I would really like to do something of that degree in here. I think that would be a lot of fun. As for Gamera's power set, I definitely do like the flying rocket moves. Also, I don't think he, like, while I would have that he loves children, he doesn't really have a lot of indifference towards other people, because while I would have that, like, he was treated like a god, there's another angle of that, like I said, where he's treated like nothing but a weapon for the Atlanteans to use to fight off their enemies. And that kind of, like, that just makes him angry. So, again, really setting into the Heisei era of Gamera. But, yeah. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this, and how would you bring in Gamera into the Monsterverse? Just comment below, let me know, and as always, if you'd like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where if you hit the 4th tier, you guys can send me requests for videos to do here on YouTube as well. But other than that, I'd like to thank Jack Oliver for this request, yeah, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.